Vintage rustic living room ideas. Embrace timeless charm and comfort. A living room is the heart of the home, where family and friends gather to relax, share stories, and create lasting memories. The living room's design should reflect both comfort and personality, offering a space that feels welcoming, cozy, and stylish. Vintage rustic living room ideas combine the warmth and charm of rustic design with the timeless appeal of vintage elements, creating a space that exudes character and history while remaining inviting and functional. Whether you're starting from scratch or looking to refresh your existing space, this video will provide you with creative ideas to incorporate vintage rustic charm into your living room. From furniture and decor to color schemes and lighting, we'll explore how to blend the beauty of vintage and rustic aesthetics for a living room that feels both timeless and unique. Understanding vintage rustic design. Vintage rustic design is a blend of two powerful design movements, vintage and rustic. The combination of these two styles creates a space that is full of history, warmth, and a sense of nostalgia. Rustic design is rooted in the natural world, featuring raw, unpolished materials like wood, stone, and metal, while vintage design draws inspiration from different eras, often featuring antique or reclaimed pieces. Rustic elements. Rustic design emphasizes natural, weathered materials. Wood plays a central role, with wooden beams, reclaimed furniture, and wooden flooring giving the space an earthy, grounded feeling. Stone elements such as fireplaces or accent walls often complement the rustic look, adding texture and warmth. Vintage touches. Vintage pieces in the living room may include antique furniture, retro lighting, old photographs, and classic decorative items. Vintage elements have a timeless charm, often telling a story or evoking memories of past generations. These items contribute to the room's overall character and make the space feel more personal and lived in. When these two design philosophies come together, the result is a living room that is not only visually appealing but also deeply comforting and full of warmth. Vintage rustic living rooms feel inviting, timeless, and authentic. Creating the foundation with color and materials. The color palette and materials you choose for your vintage rustic living room set the tone for the entire space. In rustic design, earthy, natural tones dominate, while vintage pieces can add a touch of color and contrast. Combining the right materials and hues creates a balanced, harmonious environment. Color palette for vintage rustic living rooms. A rustic vintage living room should feel warm, grounded, and cozy. A neutral color palette with earthy tones works best for this style. Think of soft whites, grays, browns, and beiges as the base for walls and larger furniture pieces. These tones reflect the natural world and provide the perfect backdrop for the vintage accents and furniture. Earthy browns and beiges. Warm, neutral shades of brown and beige add depth and warmth to a living room. You can incorporate these shades through wood furniture, rugs, or upholstery. Muted greens and blues. Soft green or blue hues add a sense of tranquility to the room. Use these colors for throw pillows, accent chairs, or light fixtures to create subtle contrasts. Warm whites and off-whites. Whites and off-whites can be used on walls or ceilings to keep the space feeling open and airy while complementing the earthy tones. Pops of red or yellow. Vintage pieces often feature bold colors like deep reds, yellows, or mustard tones. These colors work well for accent pieces like throw blankets, vases, or artwork. Materials to incorporate in vintage rustic living rooms. Materials play a major role in bringing both the rustic and vintage elements together. The combination of raw, natural materials with time-worn vintage items creates a look that is both beautiful and enduring. Wood. Wood is the foundation of rustic design, and it's essential in a vintage rustic living room. Incorporate wood in the form of furniture, exposed beams, flooring, or wall paneling. Reclaimed wood, especially, adds character and history to the room. Leather. Leather furniture, especially vintage leather sofas and chairs, provides texture and sophistication. The rich, warm tones of leather complement the earthy palette of rustic design. Stone elements such as a stone fireplace or an accent wall enhance the rustic feel of the room. Stone can also be incorporated into coffee tables, bookends, or decorative accessories. Metal, wrought iron, aged brass, and other metals add a rustic touch while providing contrast against the natural wood and soft textiles. Vintage light fixtures, metal sconces, or industrial-style furniture can help balance the room. Textiles incorporate vintage-inspired fabrics such as linen, wool, and cotton for furniture upholstery, throw blankets, and pillows. These textiles add warmth and texture while creating a cozy atmosphere. Furniture choices for a vintage rustic living room. The furniture in a vintage rustic living room should combine the warmth of rustic design with the charm of vintage pieces. Antique and reclaimed furniture are staples in this design style, providing both character and functionality. The key is to select furniture that complements the room's earthy tones and timeless appeal. Reclaimed wood furniture is the heart of a rustic vintage living room. Look for pieces that have been weathered by time, such as a reclaimed wood coffee table, side tables, or bookcases. The distressed wood adds character and charm, while the natural grain gives the room a sense of organic beauty. Reclaimed wood coffee table. A wooden coffee table with a weathered finish is a key statement piece in any rustic living room. Pair it with vintage armchairs and a cozy rug to create a focal point in the room. Wooden bookshelves. Open shelving made of reclaimed wood adds both storage and a rustic aesthetic. Display vintage books, family heirlooms, or antique knickknacks on the shelves to enhance the room's charm. Vintage sofas and chairs. A vintage sofa or armchair with deep cushions and classic lines provides the ultimate comfort and style. Look for vintage pieces in fabrics like leather, velvet, or linen. A worn-in leather sofa adds a rich, sophisticated touch to the room, while fabric sofas can add a cozy, lived-in feel. Leather sofa. A vintage leather sofa with a patina finish is perfect for a rustic living room. The deep brown tones of the leather complement wood and stone elements, creating a warm and inviting atmosphere. Armchairs with distressed upholstery. Look for armchairs with worn upholstery, particularly in earthy tones or floral patterns, to bring a vintage feel to the space. Pair them with soft, textured pillows and throws for extra comfort. Antique accent pieces. Incorporate antique or vintage furniture pieces such as sideboards, consoles, and cabinets. These pieces often feature intricate details, adding a touch of elegance and history to the room. Look for vintage sideboards made of dark wood or old trunks used as storage solutions to add character and practicality. Vintage trunks. A vintage trunk can double as a coffee table or extra storage space. The worn wood or metal hardware of the trunk adds rustic charm while offering a functional storage solution. Antique console tables. An antique console table, either made of wood or metal, can create a beautiful entryway or serve as an elegant accent piece behind a sofa. Accents and accessories to complete the look. Accessories and decor are the finishing touches that transform a living room from simply functional to deeply personal and stylish. When decorating a vintage rustic living room, the key is to select items that evoke a sense of history while contributing to the room's cozy atmosphere. Vintage rugs and textiles. Vintage rugs play a vital role in adding texture and warmth to a rustic living room. Look for Persian or Oriental rugs with rich colors and intricate patterns. These rugs often feature deep reds, blues, and golds that add depth to the room's neutral color palette. Persian rugs. Persian rugs with intricate designs and rich colors can add a sense of sophistication and warmth to a rustic living room. These rugs often have a vintage feel, making them perfect for the design style. Woven throw blankets. Soft, woven throw blankets made from cotton, wool, or linen can be draped over furniture for added texture and warmth. These pieces also enhance the room's cozy, lived-in vibe. Antique artwork and mirrors. Antique or vintage-inspired artwork is another way to add character and charm to your living room. Look for paintings, prints, or vintage photographs that evoke nostalgia. Framed vintage maps, botanical prints, or landscapes can add visual interest to your walls. Vintage mirrors. A large vintage mirror with an ornate frame or an antique gilded mirror can create a sense of elegance in a rustic living room. Mirrors also reflect light and can help brighten the space. Vintage paintings. Look for vintage or antique paintings that evoke a sense of history. These artworks can add personality and depth to the room, especially when displayed in distressed frames. Lighting with vintage charm. Lighting is essential in creating the right ambience in a vintage rustic living room. Opt for lighting fixtures that evoke a sense of history and elegance. A mix of table lamps, chandeliers, and sconces can help create layers of light and highlight key areas of the room. Vintage chandeliers. A vintage-style chandelier with an antique finish can be a stunning focal point in the room. Choose a chandelier with aged brass, bronze, or wrought iron finishes for an authentic rustic feel. Table lamps with antique bases. Vintage-inspired table lamps with ornate metal or ceramic bases can add both light and style to your living room. Opt for lamps with linen or cotton shades to enhance the rustic look, creating a cozy and inviting atmosphere. A vintage rustic living room is meant to feel warm, inviting, and cozy. It should be a place where you can relax and unwind, surrounded by elements that evoke a sense of nostalgia and comfort. The key to achieving this is by layering textures, using soft furnishings, and incorporating personal touches. Layer textures. Layering different textures like woven baskets, velvet pillows, and linen curtains creates a tactile experience that makes the room feel welcoming. Personal touches include family heirlooms, antique collectibles, or vintage photographs to make the space feel uniquely yours. A vintage rustic living room combines the warmth of rustic design with the timeless charm of vintage elements, creating a space that is both inviting and full of character. By blending natural materials like wood and stone with antique furniture and vintage decor, you can create a cozy, stylish retreat that evokes a sense of history and nostalgia. Whether you're incorporating reclaimed furniture, vintage textiles, or antique accessories, a vintage rustic living room exudes charm, comfort, and timeless beauty. Embrace the magic of this design style and transform your living room into a space that tells a story and invites relaxation.